Hey, everybody. You are about to hear a brief retelling of the movie Killers. Enjoy the movie. In the 80s, Los Angeles operated more than 600 gangs, totaling almost 70,000 people. They were confronted by a special police anti-gang unit called Crash, which consisted of just 250 officers. Danny McGavin is new to the department, and for an inappropriate joke at the meeting, he was put as a punishment partner to the old man Bob Hodges. During the night, members of the Crips gang shot a small-time gangster from a rival Bloods gang from a van. A local kid pointed his partner to a granny who witnessed the crime, but the woman just brushed off the cops. She herself still lives here. Crash officers have a constant grudge match with regular cops. They've been ordered to clear the streets for at least a couple days. They've been arresting gangsters, both blue and red bandanas. They got Rocket, who shot the kid that night. In the jail, there's only one bar separating the red and blue mobs. The old cops advised the young Gopnik truth to throw out that blue rag and find better friends. The locals know Hodges well, because he hates working in this department, but the captain persistently brings him back to the streets of the ghetto. The partners picked up a criminal in Sparks and brought them to their knees. The dealer tried to run away, but Danny stopped him and sat him down next to the others. The youngest and the detainees were only 14 years old. Clarence Brown, nicknamed Upper, dropped the rocks by the car. Danny easily found the baggie. Ryder was stripped and turned out to be a Bloods gang member. Fucked Up Blues promised they'd finish him off. Hodges ordered his partner to release the top dog, saying the dealer owed him. The veteran also gave everyone else a second chance. They should respect him. Danny resents this approach to the job, but Hodges tries to be loyal to the locals. His job is to get them to socialize with him, not freak out when they see a cop. But Danny wasn't listening to him. He was staring at a waitress in a diner. Danny flirted with the smiling Cuban woman and promised to come back. The partners drove into the territory of the Latino gang Zaslan, the oldest in the city. They wear black bandanas and don't make much contact with Hodges. 21st Street is home to a motley crew of social window fools who get their asses kicked by everyone. One hooligan threw a rock at a cop car and the kids ran off in different directions. The cops stopped next to the company and asked why the fuck they were throwing rocks at a cop car. The chief among them greeted Hodges as his buddy, and the latter introduced his young partner. Hodges asked the Frog himself to punish the youngsters for their stone-throwing antics. The local black population asks the cops to deal with the gangs, but what can you do when the children see how the gold-clad drug dealers drive a Bentley and realize that they don't even need to finish school for that? Blood says goodbye to his man in a tiny church. The Holy Father directly says that street gangs are to blame for the tragedy and it's time for ordinary people to take a stand against them. Right at that moment, the building is shot up by the Blues. Danny and Hodges were on duty at the church and chased the criminals through the neighborhood. They called in a helicopter for backup. The bandits rushed through the narrow streets of the slums, shooting up police cars along the way. Scumbags demolish food paws and try by all means to get away from the cops, but soon were surrounded. In the end, the car with gangsters got into an accident and exploded, overturned, and the wheelbarrow with our heroes. Hodges invited Danny to visit and the guy came not by himself, but with a waitress Louise. The veteran reckons the young one shouldn't have raced like that and risked lives, so you can play in the box pretty quickly. Hodges has 3 children and is less than a year away from retirement, but Danny has voiced his disagreement with his partner's methods. He doesn't need the respect of the mob. Louisa liked the date, and that night with Danny they spent in her bed. The partners got a new car, bright yellow in color, and the cops immediately gave Danny the nickname Pac-Man. The cops are running the operation. From the port was taken a batch of fire extinguishers. It is unclear what kind of strong fires had to put out in the ghetto, so when the cop checked one of the fire extinguishers, he found cocaine inside. On a tip-off, the squad broke into the house of a big guy named Bear and Danny arrested him, and then helped to pile up the bandit, who was hiding in a neighboring house. They put a fire extinguisher in front of Bear and offered to give him 5 names, then he would be released at once. The thug did not have to beg for long. He immediately gave them all up. One of the vendors was a horseback rider. Danny went straight for Hodges, for they already had the bandit in their hands. During another raider, a pissed-off Danny grabbed the goon by the throat and almost strangled him. Another kid got caught defacing a wall with paint. If Hodges talked to him fatherly and let him go, Danny took a can and sprayed the bully in the face. The veteran shoved his partner. The whole ghetto already knows about the violent Pac-Man. He searched for a dealer who just handed out merchandise to the little guys. The dealer refuses to give up his supplier, so Danny punches him in the face, roughly handcuffs him, and throws him in the car by his hair. Hodges is against the use of brute force in an arrest on his property and lashes out at his partner, and the rookie offers the veteran a chance to choose which side he's on. Danny's relationship with Louise has soured as well, all because Pac-Man is hated by everyone here. Danny also paints her cousin's face. It's not the local gangsters that scare Louise, it's him. She's not going out with a sadist. Froggy comes to make a deal about his nephew, Philippe, who has been arrested for gang violence. He asks for his computer data to be erased. Hodges promises to help him with this, but Frog himself is immediately arrested due to unpaid traffic tickets. One day near the beach, Hodges caught sight of Verkovoy, who ran away from the cop. The criminal stole a motorcycle. He was stealthily pursued by Pac-Man in his yellow car and at one point cut the fugitive so that he flew straight into the window of the restaurant. When he came to his senses, he took the woman hostage and dragged her up the stairs by the neck. Realizing that there was nowhere to run, Verkovoy pushed the hostage away and rushed to the kitchen, where Danny caught up with him, but after a long fight he found himself in a chokehold. His partner helped him out and burned the perpetrator's hand. The two of them were finally able to arrest Verkovoy. Danny was glad that the veteran had turned up the heat, and Hodges admitted that he had been a fool to let the criminal go the first time. Danny also apologized, but it was too late. Hodges had time to ask for a new partner. He'd already dated a woman he'd had a constant scuffle with, and he'd had enough. In prison, Verkovoy was attacked and brutally beaten on his own for his dealings with a rival gang. The head of the guard refuses to give the convict medical help, but offers to transfer him to another block in exchange for useful information. Then the Mountie tells him that that kid was killed by Rocket in the night. A helicopter quickly located the blue van from which the kid was shot. 4 squad cars pulled into the parking lot. Danny ordered the driver and passenger out of the vehicle, and the suspects were taken into custody. Pac-Man is processing one of them in the interrogation room. Willie is frosty and refuses to give Rocket's girlfriend's name. Okay, if he keeps acting like this, then Danny at the exit of the precinct in front of everyone gives him $50 and thanks him for his cooperation. Cheryl Williams, the thug, squeezed out. Hodges is stabbing another detainee. Danny puts on a show. Willie says the name of Rocket's girlfriend, but he's forgotten it. Something like Cheryl Williams. Sharon Robbins corrected him, and that's how the partners learned the girl's real name, the one Rocket was probably hiding at. The cops surrounded the house. The couple was so busy with each other that they didn't even hear the cops come in. Hodges said it was Trouty, not Rocket, but the guy jerked to the side and the mustachioed cop shot him several times in the back. Before he died, Trouty said he just wanted to put his underwear on. The girl from old memory thought Pac-Man was the shooter. Crips gangsters decided to take down the hated cop. The type he was high as a kite broke into the store and danced with a big rabbit. The stoner thought he was home, and when he was arrested he demanded the rabbit back. In the jailhouse, Tybin tells his neighbor how the cops busted Trouty when he was just messing around in bed with Rocket's girl, and it was supposedly Pac-Man who did it. They're bound to get the cop. His story was heard by Frog, who was sitting there playing cards. Even in the police station, some people think that Danny was the shooter, but the main thing is that Hodges already knows that his partner is being hunted. He gave the other cops the name of his informant. Frog owes him, which is why sometimes it pays to be friends with gangsters. Rocket and his gang are hiding in one of the abandoned houses, and the cops are scouring the neighborhood. The gangsters guess that the police got wind of their plans for Pac-Man. All of Rocket's men are here except for Tybin, and the fool is sitting with Froggy, Hodges' buddy. He's 100% a snitch, so we gotta take him down. Frog got bailed out by his brother, and he's out. The first thing the man did was attend a party. The whole house was packed with 21st Street Gang members and their women. A car with Crips drove by. Rocket and his underlings shot up the building. Patrolmen immediately arrived on the scene. One girl, a young mother, was killed. The inconsolable widower cries and wonders why. Pac-Man saw his ex-girlfriend having fun in the bedroom with a dark-skinned gangster. The girl is taunting the cop, and he's trying to run away and not look at Louisa. Bird sees what Rocket shot. Philippe asks to take him into the gang and let him deal with Crips. Frog suggested that he is too weak and the boy was subjected to a severe beating for several minutes. If the young man can endure this brutal initiation ritual, he will be allowed to become a member of the gang. Frog congratulated the new recruit and warned that there was no turning back now. In the morning, the 21st Street Gang gathers for a showdown. Danny didn't find any friends at the station. The captain declares full alert. In the evening, the gang surrounds the building where Rocket and his men are hiding. They're armed with pistols, carbines, and shotguns. Froggy took out the first one on the doorstep. Bird threw a grenade into the house. Everyone who ran out was immediately shot. The rest were blown away by the explosion. Rocket stood in front of the car, and he and one of the leaders of the 21st Street Gang shot each other with an Uzi. Satisfied with themselves, the gangsters celebrate around the campfire. Unnoticed drunken gangsters surrounded by police. From above, the clearing illuminates the helicopter. The policemen arrest the killers, and Frog personally twists Hodges. He's not going to be friends with anyone else in the neighborhood. The bandit thinks the old cop was just using him. It was all over, but a drunken Bird grabbed a carbine and shot Hodges. The shooter was sent to the other side of the world along with the girl who was lying next to him. Froggy was glad that his old acquaintance had been wounded. His vest was shot through. Hodges asked his partner to call his wife. The man braved it for a while, but then he panicked and cried. His tongue began to slur, and at one point Hodges stopped breathing. Soon Danny had a new partner, one as bold as himself. It was time for Pac-Man to teach the newcomer.